And I'm grateful for UNICEF and our relationship, which has been running for some time, and the Church of Jesus Christ and UNICEF have worked together throughout the world, and more recently in the Pacific. And over a decade of partnership here, last 10 years, we've worked on water, sanitation, hygiene, early childhood care and education, nutrition and early childhood development. And I think we're probably doing as much as we ever have with UNICEF right now, and we're just loving that experience together. So just thank you to UNICEF and all you do in the world for children, and we feel very aligned with that work with you. Just like to say a little about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're an interesting church, and very like Islam, we're all volunteers in the church, and that does make a difference. And there's a sense of volunteering in the church as a result. And so when disasters occur or other things, our members will show up in great numbers and want to participate and help. And we just love that. And I guess we're driven by this beautiful quote from Jesus, who said, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first great commandment. And the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself." And I guess that kind of defines us, and probably in different faiths in different ways, but probably defines all of us here tonight, that a sense of deity and the need to align our lives and values, and then caring for each other in the world. And in the Church of Jesus Christ, we have 4 just key objectives. They kind of define what we do. We call it God's work of salvation and exaltation. And this comes from our general handbook, which is available for everyone. So everything we have is in an app called Gospel Library, and it has, you can read everything about us there and lots of great resources. So anyone interested, I can introduce you to Gospel Library. But these are the 4 main things we do. Firstly, we live the gospel of Jesus Christ, so we strive to follow him and his teachings. We care for those in need. We invite all others to receive the gospel and teachings, and we unite families for eternity. And the building there you probably recognise from driving down the freeway is the new Auckland Temple. We have about 30,000 meeting houses in the world, but we only have just over 300 temples announced or completed, and this is one of the newest ones here in Auckland. But that's where we unite families for eternity. But these 4 objectives are equal for us. So caring for the poor, or caring for those in need, or those that are disadvantaged, is kind of 25% of our business, if you wanted to look at it in that sense. It's a quarter of what we do. It's fundamental to us as an organisation, and it's a real blessing that it is. It changes everything for us, I think. And you've got organisations that are very similar to this. This is our current president of the church, who we recognise as a prophet of God. His name is President Russell M. Nelson. Some of you have met him, and he's just delightful. His 101st birthday will be in September, and he's still teaching and leading and doing great things. And if he's met you before, he'll remember you and where and what you talked about. It's just a unique gift he has. But he said this: "They who are willing to be called the Lord's people are willing to bear one another's burdens, to mourn with those that mourn, and comfort those that stand in need of comfort." Amongst many other thousands of quotes we could have shared. So in the Church of Jesus Christ, we have a global effort to care for those in need. And this is just a little summary of our 2024 activities. We spent about $1.45 billion in donations towards caring for those in need. 6.6 million hours volunteered by members of the church around the world in various types of humanitarian projects. 3,800 humanitarian projects completed and working in 192 countries. Now that pales into insignificance against an organisation like UNICEF, but we're an organisation of 18 million members, and we're grateful for the donations of our members that allow us to make these kind of contributions. But for us, we really can't do this work without help. And so if you look at us, certainly way more than half of our expenditure in humanitarian is with partners. And I think you'll see that all of you are our partners in some way or another. And we have, in the world today, we have 2,000 partnerships in 160 countries. And so if you're doing things that align with us, which are caring for the poor and needy and meeting the needs of disadvantaged, we'd love to work with you and perhaps help fund what you're doing or participate with you in that kind of work. And that's how we extend our reach as an organisation. And we feel it's a great blessing to have such incredible partners to work with around the world. So thank you from us for the way that you help us achieve what we see as so important. And we're in the Pacific, and there are really great needs in the Pacific. It's such an amazing place to serve for me and for all of us serving here, to see the diversity, to see the challenges, to see the opportunities, and to be able to do something about them. And it's just a joy to be able to participate. But we hope you feel that too, that needs are real and current, they're growing, and delaying action means prolonging suffering. So I just want to show you a few examples of things that we're doing that might inspire you to do some other things. And that's the purpose of showing you these. The first one's kind of an interesting one. In Papua New Guinea, 12% of people have access to electricity. And we 12.5 million people, and around a million, bit more than a million, have access to electricity. Most people live in villages. So the biggest city is Port Moresby with 350,000. There's several other cities, much smaller, 100,000 and 50,000. But after that, it's 2,000 and 3,000 people in villages throughout the country, and they're pretty evenly spread. And most of those people live without any services at all, in terms of things we'd recognise as normal. No running water, no electricity, subsistence farming, and living a beautiful life, sort of, but missing out on so much. And one of the challenges is illiteracy and nutrition and difficulty sort of getting out of where we are today. So we've been thinking about what kind of church buildings could we build that would work in Papua New Guinea and in similar places like Solomon Islands and Vanuatu. And we came up with this concept, a simple meeting house, but with solar power and batteries and internet connections. So suddenly we could take the world and access to education and many of the church resources to people right in their village. And the building you're looking at here is one of 6 prototypes that we completed in January. In the background is the old bush chapel where people used to meet, which is pretty typical of many of those. Another innovation that developed in Papua New Guinea, now spreading through the Pacific, is mums preschools. So the challenge for children in Papua New Guinea is many of them grow up in illiterate families. And in an illiterate family, there is no opportunity to learn to read or write or do any kind of numbers before school. And children enter school often at 7 or 8 years old, and if they have had no experience, they're quite bewildered at school and drop out very quickly, just give up, literally. So mums preschools are taught by village mothers, usually in English, and they help their village children learn to read, write and do basic numbers before they go to school. All volunteers and incredibly successful. So the children, when they get to school, say, I can do this, I've got this, and they take off. So another very simple concept based on the goodness of village mothers, who, by the way, also progress incredibly in their own education as a result of teaching, which happens to all of us, and it's a blessing. And then while children are at school, we also run Succeeding Schools, which is an after-school program, again using these little simple buildings to do basic homework and support. So if someone's struggling, they can get the help that they need from a teacher and with some good materials. And then for higher education, the church has developed through its universities, BYU, a pathway program, which is online learning, which is basically provides pre-university level study, and then as our students come out of that, they can then do a degree course online. But one of the most amazing parts is that we have pathway jobs available from around the world. The church has had some successful internet and technology entrepreneurs, and they've worked to pull together online job opportunities. We'll probably have more than 1 million of these within the next year for people anywhere in the world. And so you can be living in Papua New Guinea or Solomon Islands or Vanuatu, you can study online and you can do an basic online job and earn enough to sustain yourself during your studies. But the other thing that happens is as online employers from around the world are using our pathway students, as they get higher degrees and graduate, they get offered incredibly higher levels of remuneration, end up getting multiples of subsistence and can sustain a family. So now we have a way that you can live in the village you want to live in any part of the Pacific, and sustain your family and get an education. Here's another challenge. In Kiribati, this is the one that Elena mentioned, that climate change is a huge challenge. In the outer islands of Kiribati, there are many people living in a similar way to Papua New Guinea, no services, but live very happily, or have up until now. But with climate change, rising seawater levels have contaminated the groundwater, and then decreasing rainfall at the same time means that tank water is not available, and villages of typically 500 to 2,000 are drinking contaminated groundwater. Infant mortality is significantly higher. Every month, 20, 30 children die of dysentery, and adults are also sick. And the government approached us and said, what could we do? And we said, well, we don't really know, because it's kind of challenging in a place without technology. But by talking to some of our technology church leaders or church members, we found a solution to put in solar-powered, with batteries, reverse osmosis desalination. And we've built 5 of these facilities on islands. We provided about 2.5 million litres of clean water last year, and we'll do another 10 in the coming year in other islands. And it's, again, a simple solution, completely sustainable, providing clean water and making a huge difference. With UNICEF, we've worked on lots of projects around the world, lots of WASH projects for sanitation in South Africa, Africa and the Pacific. And this year's projects have included some great projects in Papua New Guinea, in East New Britain, where we're bringing clean water to communities that previously walked 1 or 2 kilometres to get to clean water. And the projects have included laying pipes, installing water tanks, repairing existing infrastructure, and have been a really great partnership opportunity for us. And water and sanitation and hygiene It is vital to healthy survival, as you all know. We do lots of school upgrades, and this was a significant one. Elder Wakola was one of my works in the presidency with me, and he went to school at this school in Fiji, but it's incredibly run down, and we did a big renovation project this year, renovating a couple of big dormitory blocks, and provided clean living spaces and bathrooms and laundry facilities for the 280 boys that are there. And it just makes a difference. These simple things can make such a difference. We are blessed with not only young missionaries who go and serve missions as 18 and 19-year-olds and it changes their life from inward focused to outward focused in a remarkable way, but a lot of our senior members, like us, but senior members, instead of retiring and going to play golf, will retire and then volunteer as senior missionaries. And we love them because they take all of their talents and skills to whatever is needed anywhere in the world and serve for 18 months or 2 years entirely at their own expense, including travel and accommodation and everything else. But they've helped us do remarkable things. And one of the areas is medical clinic upgrades. So retired doctors and nurses help us throughout the area to work with local medical departments and particularly regional hospitals and work out how we can restore them to full operation again. So we can have a $5 million hospital somewhere, let's say it's in Fiji or Samoa or Vanuatu, that's almost just dangerous to go to and use. You know, it's so run down and so depressed, the equipment's old, sanitation's not good. And we can spend about 10% of the cost of that hospital to renovate the building, replace the equipment and train the staff, and you return it to a fully operational hospital. That's a fantastic humanitarian return. And so we've been doing that, and these regional hospitals then take load off the central hospitals, which, because the regional hospitals don't work, are really struggling, and the whole health system starts to be restored. So another simple project using the skills of our wonderful senior missionaries and helping do things. And the same with dental clinics. Dental services in Kiribati and Vanuatu and Papua New Guinea are pretty terrible. In fact, in Papua New Guinea, dentists only pull out teeth. That's the only kind of treatment you can get, or has been. So we've been working there, again, with voluntary dentists to upgrade clinics and provide equipment and provide training that's lifting the dental services in many of the islands and which brings health and joy to people and sometimes restores their teeth, which is just also remarkable. We've got the picture here is showing a dentist that seems to be able to rebuild teeth in a way I've never seen before. With a few posts and other things, he can put a whole mouth back together without even doing implants. So we are very big in donating wheelchairs, about 500,000 wheelchairs in the Pacific area over time. And wheelchairs in developing nations are just life-changing for families with members of the family that need wheelchair. We go from carrying our family members to suddenly they become mobile. So it's a beautiful way to make a difference. And so we manufacture wheelchairs and distribute them. And we distribute them with, again, volunteer senior missionaries that learn how to fit them and maintain them so that we leave training behind that maintains the wheelchairs. Emergency response is something we love to participate in. When a disaster strikes anywhere in the world where we are, Latter-day Saint charities will often be first responders, and we're very happy to participate with anyone else in providing relief in these circumstances. And of course, in the Pacific, we have many of our countries in the Ring of Fire. We have earthquakes, we have volcanic events, we have cyclones and tsunamis and just, you name it, we have it. And some places like Vanuatu have all of those regularly and need help. And so we've got better at responding. We tend to keep in those most challenged places containers strategically placed with equipment that can allow early response, and that's a blessing. So they're just a few things that we're involved in. We know you're involved in many other wonderful things as well, but we hope that they inspire you to think about, are there things you're doing that we could do together? Are there things that we're doing that you could help us with? And if we could figure out how we could multiply our efforts by uniting our resources, that would be a wonderful outcome from this evening. And especially if it's just you've had some ideas and thoughts and would just like to follow up with each other on those, great things can happen. So thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. We really appreciate all of you, your love for humanity and your willingness to participate in blessing people's lives. And I'd like to just conclude with a very short video that also might just cause us to think a little more. I'd just like to conclude with my testimony of Jesus Christ. And we don't all share that same focus, but you can think of those that you call God as well. But I'm thankful for him, for his remarkable life and example, for his constant outward focus and attention to those that really needed help throughout his life, and the example that he set for us. And I testify of his great sacrifice on our behalf, both in the Garden of Gethsemane on the cross, where he makes it possible for us to draw on his power to change and become who we really need to be. So I'm thankful for him and the example he set, and testify that he lives. And we can learn so much from him. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.